Welcome to this critical update on the rapidly shifting geopolitical landscape. We are currently analyzing a highly significant development that underscores the immense depth and precision of Israeli intelligence in this ongoing conflict. Recent reports indicate a highly targeted strike on a clandestine meeting in Tehran. This gathering reportedly consisted of the remaining upper echelons of the regime's leadership, convened with the explicit purpose of selecting a new supreme leader. To understand the gravity of this, one must realize that since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, there have only been two individuals to hold that absolute title, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, and until very recently, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. It is the single most powerful position within the regime's architecture. Concurrently, the Iranian military apparatus continues its aggressive aerial bombardment of Israeli territory. We have a team on the ground in Bnei Brak, a densely populated religious community situated just outside the major metropolitan hub of Tel Aviv. The scene there is a stark reminder of the indiscriminate nature of this war. Local law enforcement and emergency first responders have confirmed that a component of a cluster munition attached to the warhead of an incoming ballistic missile catastrophically failed upon interception and slammed directly into a residential apartment block. The initial casualty reports confirm 7 individuals wounded, with 1 woman listed in moderate condition. The level of destruction visible on the ground in Bnei Brak is substantial. Debris and concrete rubble are scattered across what should be a peaceful suburban environment. Emergency personnel on the scene are officially stating it is nothing short of a miracle that there were no fatalities. This strike occurred while families were sheltered in their home. Furthermore, the timing compounds the severity of the situation. The entire area is currently filled with children because the Israeli population is observing the religious holiday of Purim. For those unfamiliar, Purim is traditionally considered one of the most joyous festivals in the Jewish calendar. It commemorates the historical narrative from the Book of Esther, celebrating the survival of the Jewish people in ancient Persia from a devastating plot meant to annihilate them. It is a time marked by vibrant costumes and communal celebration. Yet, against this backdrop of festivities, a large barrage was launched by the Iranian regime, forcing families to flee for their lives as cluster munitions rained down on the civilian population below, causing extensive damage to the immediate building and the surrounding neighborhood infrastructure. Shifting our focus to the broader strategic theater, the volume of kinetic activity is staggering. According to official Israeli military briefings released over the past 12 hours, their forces have executed at least 60 distinct, highly coordinated strikes deep within Iranian territory. These operations are systematically dismantling missile production facilities and heavily fortified regime infrastructure, and the tactical disruption extends far beyond the mainland. Let us examine the maritime domain, specifically the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. The Iranian naval fleet, which previously boasted a strength of 11 operational warships, has essentially ceased to exist. Official statements from the United States Central Command confirm that all 11 vessels have been systematically targeted and sunk. This completely neutralizes the regime's ability to project naval power or disrupt international shipping lanes in that critical choke point. The retaliatory responses from Tehran have consequently shifted toward regional neighbors. Over the past few days, we have seen aggressive strikes aimed at various Gulf nations, including an incident in Bahrain on Saturday. Currently, we are tracking incidents involving 11 different nations in the immediate region. A primary point of concern remains the United States Embassy compound in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Late last night, the sprawling facility was struck by at least 2, potentially 3, Iranian suicide drones. Fortunately, the embassy had been completely evacuated prior to the strike. Similarly, the American embassy in Kuwait has suspended all operations and remains closed. The United States State Department has issued urgent directives to American citizens residing in these Gulf countries, strongly advising them to secure commercial flights out of the region immediately. However, with the severe disruption to regional airspace and heavily restricted flight schedule, navigating these exit routes is proving to be a logistical nightmare. To grasp the full magnitude of this geopolitical earthquake, we must look at the unprecedented collapse of Iran's proxy network across the Middle East. Consider the current operational status of these various armed groups. Just 2 days ago, Hezbollah forces launched a barrage of rockets into northern Israel. In a historically unprecedented move, the official Lebanese government publicly and forcefully condemned Hezbollah's action. Down south in Gaza, Hamas has been largely neutralized as an organized military force. The Houthi militants in Yemen, who spent the better part of the past year launching advanced ballistic ballistic missiles toward Israeli territory have suddenly gone completely silent. Inside Iran itself, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is operating under immense, relentless pressure from continuous airstrike. The only remaining proxy elements showing significant activity are the Shiite militias operating in Iraq. We are receiving continuous reports of these groups launching attacks against established United States military bases situated in both the eastern and northern sectors of Iraq. What we are witnessing right now is a fundamental, violent restructuring of the Middle Eastern balance of power, aggressively dismantling the regional influence long held by the regime in Tehran. Returning to the breaking news regarding the targeted strike on the Assembly of Experts in the city of Qom, situated south of Tehran, the strategic implications are profound. If the stated objective of the United States and Israeli governments is the absolute termination of this regime, then actively preventing the successful transition of power to a new supreme leader is a critical tactical priority. Defense analysts suggest that accepting the nomination for that position right now is a virtually guaranteed death sentence. Moving forward, policymakers in Washington are likely evaluating two primary trajectories for Iran. The first involves inflicting maximum, catastrophic damage to all military capabilities, completely destroying the nuclear program, and permanently crippling the ballistic missile production infrastructure. The coming days will be critical in determining which path this conflict ultimately takes. Welcome to our comprehensive geopolitical analysis. When evaluating the ongoing military operations and strategic objectives concerning the Iranian administration, policy experts generally point to two distinct strategic pathways. The first approach resembles a highly aggressive containment strategy, somewhat akin to the model currently observed in Venezuela. This involves systematically degrading the regime's capacity to deploy unmanned aerial vehicles and long-range munitions, effectively neutralizing its ability to project power and act as a disruptive force across the broader region. Under this scenario, the central authority is severely weakened, left as a mere shadow of its former self, while a lower-level administrative figure assumes functional control of a heavily diminished state apparatus. The alternative approach relies on applying an overwhelming degree of structural pressure on the current establishment. The objective here is to catalyze massive internal civic unrest, mirroring the widespread public protests witnessed just 2 months ago. By compounding external military pressure with internal civic action, the theoretical goal is to create an environment where the current governance model completely collapses from within, creating a political vacuum from which a new, organically formed government can emerge. To understand the urgency driving the current military posture, we must examine recent statements made by the Israeli Prime Minister during a highly publicized national broadcast. Addressing the international community's concerns regarding the duration of this conflict, he firmly stated that the operation is not designed to be an endless war. He articulated that immediate military intervention was an absolute necessity because the opposing leadership had not abandoned its ambitions following previous strikes on its nuclear and ballistic missile infrastructure. Instead, intelligence indicated they were rapidly constructing heavily fortified, deep underground facilities. According to the Prime Minister, within a matter of months, these newly constructed subterranean bunkers would have rendered their advanced munitions and atomic programs completely immune to conventional military strike. He warned that failing to act now would permanently remove the option of future intervention, ultimately leaving the United States and its regional allies vulnerable to direct targeting. In analyzing this current strategy, comparisons are frequently drawn to the United States-led invasion of Iraq over 20 years ago, specifically the campaign in 2003. However, a deep historical and tactical analysis reveals profound differences between these two geopolitical scenarios. While the sheer volume of regional naval and aerial military assets deployed today roughly equals the force posture of 2003, the critical divergence lies in ground forces. During the Iraq campaign, the United States deployed approximately 250,000 combat troops to the region. Today, the current administration has explicitly ruled out the deployment of massive ground forces. This raises a critical geopolitical question. Can a nation undergo a massive political transition without the stabilizing presence of foreign infantry? To answer this, regional historians emphasize that over-analogizing the current situation to the Iraq experience is fundamentally flawed. Iraq, following the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, was largely a product of externally drawn borders, stitching together diverse and often conflicting Kurdish, Shiite, and Sunni populations. It lacked a deep-rooted sense of organic national unity, heavily relying on the brutal repression of a dictator for over 3 decades to maintain an artificial cohesion. Once that central authority was violently removed, holding the nation together required immense time, resources, and international sacrifice. Conversely, Iran is a deeply established nation-state whose cultural and historical identity predates its current revolutionary government. Its rich history stretches back 20 centuries, fostering a profound sense of intrinsic national pride that exists independently of the current ruling cleric. This fundamental difference suggests that a post-administration society might naturally hold together far better than the fractured Iraqi state. Furthermore, the current diplomatic landscape represents a massive paradigm shift in United States foreign policy. For years, the prevailing strategic debate in Washington presented a binary choice: either engage in endless, costly military quagmires or completely isolate from foreign intervention. The current strategy aims to thread the needle, demonstrating a middle ground of high-impact, technology-driven operations without massive troop deployment. Looking at the geopolitical reality of the year 2026, if this calculated approach succeeds, it will permanently rewrite global security doctrine. A critical element of this shifting reality is the unprecedented regional alignment. Unlike past decades, neighboring Gulf nations are now actively coordinating and fighting against a common regional adversary, forging a unified front that dramatically alters the long-term balance of power in the Middle East.